take that moment for that transition. Give yourself permission to transition, because the day is going to get shorter and shorter. We're going to go back to the darkness. And darkness is good as well, because it's time to pause. It's time to grow roots, right? So prepare yourself for that. So pause. That's why I encourage people all the time. Take the moment during that solstice, that beautiful light, to pause.
Thank you, Val.
Hey, friend, give yourself a breath, the deepest breath you've given yourself all day. Feel the light brushing your skin, even if it's behind the clouds. Feel your heartbeat, that steady rhythm of aliveness that keeps you connected to this season, this earth, this body, this moment. I'm Siri, and you're listening to The Authentic Creative, Expanding Our Capacity to Feel Good. And this is our summer solstice panel. Radiance, renewal, the fullness of our creative light. We gathered on the brink of the longest day of the year in devotion to the light within us, to joy, truth, courage, and the knowing that we are allowed to take up space. We are allowed to shine. This is the whole story. We brought the dark too, the grief, the ancestors, the remembering, the roots. Before we began recording, I led these 11 brilliant women through a breathwork journey infused with Reiki. We dropped in, we let go, we opened our hearts. And what you'll hear today comes from that place. Beyond performance and beyond preparation, this is what happens when women are present and awake and fully themselves. You'll hear from authors, coaches, somatic guides, energy healers, financial wisdom keepers, vibrational leaders, and mothers. They speak on grief, money, ancestry, nature, truth, nervous system regulation, sovereignty, and success that actually feels like success. And through each share, you'll be invited deeper into your own body, your own clarity, your own light. So wherever you are, walking, driving, making tea, giving yourself to this moment, let it speak to something true in you. Let it spark a remembering. Let us begin. Hi, friend. If you've been dreaming about bringing your women together around beauty, truth, and transformation, this is your invitation. At Goddess of Light curated retreats, the heartbeat is the breath. The sacred space we create is anchored in transformational breathwork, infused with Reiki, and organic homemade meals prepared with care, intention, and love. These retreats are designed to melt armor, restore nervous systems, and awaken the deep knowing that's been waiting just beneath the surface. I offer 3 powerful ways we can co-create. Drop-in facilitator. I join your retreat to lead one potent breathwork and Reiki session or ceremony. This is the perfect way to elevate an already beautiful gathering with deep energetic anchoring. Full weekend presence. I stay with your group throughout the retreat, offering guided breathwork, Reiki, meditations, energy support, and presence, woven into every part of the weekend, including cacao ceremonies. Full retreat facilitation and production. I create the entire retreat for you. The space, the chef, the rhythm, the healing, all of it, every aspect. You gather your women, I hold everything else. This is for leaders who want to nourish and be nourished. For those who know it's time to come together and want to do this with elegance and ease and soul, this is for you. If your heart's been calling for this, you can reach out to me, siri@sageblushwellness.com, or DM me on Instagram @Siri Baruch Thornton. Let's create something unforgettable. Welcome to The Authentic Creative, where we expand our capacity to feel good, one deep breath, one bold choice, and maybe a little bit of magic at a time. I'm Siri Baruch Thornton, healer, creative, and lifelong explorer of all things energy, self-expression, and joy. With over 26 years of experience in Reiki, Akashic Records, and transformational breathwork, I've learned that feeling good is not a luxury, it's a practice. And sometimes it's a little messy. This podcast is here to help you trust your intuition, break the rules, the ones that need breaking, and live more fully in your gifts. So give yourself a deep breath, get cozy, and let's dive in.
I am so grateful that you are here, and this episode features our summer solstice panel. When you're hearing this, it will be the summer solstice here, at least in the area that I am in, which is Washington, and we're in beautiful late June, coming up to our longest day of the year. This is our Radiance and Renewal. embracing the fullness of our creative light, a joyful and powerful celebration of what it means to live, create, and lead from a place of expansion, embodiment, and soul-rooted truth. The summer solstice marks the longest stretch of light we will see all year. It invites us to honor our inner radiance, the part of us that is courageous and generous and alive. So before this conversation, I had the honor of guiding some of these radiant women through a transformational breathwork infused with Reiki session. It opened our hearts, it grounded our energy, it helped us attune to this season of light. And I trust that you will feel this glow throughout today's episode as you listen. I hope you will feel seen and supported and invited to reconnect with your own source of vitality and joy. Many of today's panelists have been featured in solo episodes of The Authentic Creative already. So if one of their voices speaks to your soul, I invite you to explore the full episode in those conversations. And I want to open with a poem, and then I will introduce these incredible leaders. So here is our poem for today. Let us begin with a breath. Let us begin with a bow to the light gathering at the crown of your head, to the warmth spilling down into your heart, to the laugh that rises from the belly, to the joy that lives in the body, to the rhythm of money flowing with purpose, to the earth holding us steady as we rise, to the stories we carry and the ones we choose to rewrite. This is a remembering, a homecoming to radiance, a return to the beautiful, creative fire already burning within you. So I am so honored to introduce our radiant summer solstice panelists, 11 creative, heart-led women whose work reflects the fullness of this season, vitality, visibility, and wild truth. So I'm just gonna list off who's here today and just a little peek of what they do, and then we'll get a little more into who they are as each of them takes a turn to share. So we have the incredible Anne Reed, podcast host, impact-focused real estate investor and licensed realtor. Val Dupre, resilience coach, shaman, and author. Katie Chen Mazzara, trauma-informed master financial wellness coach. Rachel Blumberg, founder and CEO of Plate Fit in California. Claudia Noriega Bernstein, inner abundance coach, author, and podcast host. Akari Busto, emotional alchemist and soul guide. Dr. Stephanie Minter, restorative guide and eco-somatic facilitator. Nicole Lee, somatic coach and energy healer. Tracy Hill, human design guide and creator of A Beautiful Fix. And Kat Caldwell Myers, writer, horsewoman, and certified Wayfinder life coach. If I said anything that was incorrect just now, and you want to correct it for the record, you can unmute and just be like, hey, that actually is not updated. Those were like shortened versions of your, obviously, of what you do. You're so much more than what I just said.
What's in a title? But yes, I'm an equine assisted adventure coach. So there you go.
Thank you so much. So each woman here has received a question curated specifically for the heart of her work. And these reflections are invitations for all of us here and all of you listening to stand rooted, to sit rooted, to lie rooted and radiant in your own season of creative truth. So I'm so excited. Anne Reed, I want to start with you. And you help women build legacy and freedom through aligned investing. So as we step into the abundant energy of the solstice, what role does soul-aligned wealth play in feeling truly free and radiant?
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. Of course, you were so good about preparing us with questions, and then we did breath work, and I'm like, whatever I was going to say is completely different. So
Perfect. I love it.
So I've been jotting down notes. So I do have a passion for helping women in particular learn how to invest in real estate. I'm learning to not quantify. I typically will go into that doesn't feel very soulful, but it actually is a very soulful pursuit. So
Agreed.
I will say that I believe we are all one, which definitely came through, I think, for me in the breath work. I'm processing that a little bit. As one, I feel like we should all want everybody to live up to their full potential.
I love the richness and the fullness of what you just shared, and that it is soulful when we are financially investing in ourselves and in our future. And it is so important to always come back. We can never be reminded enough of our oneness. I think that there is so much evidence when we have our eyes facing forward that there is separateness. We can't hear it enough, that reminder of our oneness, because we forget and we forget and we forget, and here we are remembering. So thank you for that reminder. It is so important, because when we remember our oneness, we remember that we all rise together, and that when one of us succeeds, we all succeed, because it just creates more flow and more abundance and more richness and more joy. So thank you for that.
Yes. So the reason I mention that is, one, it's a personal belief. The other reason I mention it is that I am on a mission to let the world know that, one, literally just about anyone can be an investor in real estate. I've actually dug into this a little bit. The only thing that I believe that would keep somebody from becoming an investor that wanted to become an investor is not having the legal capability, to be incapacitated to a point where you could not make legal decisions for yourself. Anything else, we can work you towards becoming an investor. And I think it's important as a tool, one of the many tools to create wealth, to create abundance, to feel joy. Real estate investing can help you make a lot of money. And also, some of the things that I think I can do for people is I have ways that are very community focused. Going back to we are all one. Sometimes I think there's an idea that, one, you have to have money before you can invest, and two, that investors are slumlords and evil and do bad things for the community. And I want to share that there are ways that can be wins for the investor, wins for the community, wins for the people that are in the homes. And I've uncovered a lot of those ways, and happy to share those with anyone who wants to listen. And I feel, going back to your original question, that's where my passion lies and what makes my soul feel radiant and abundant and amazing. And I want that for everyone.
Yes.
Hey, we're going to pause here for just a moment. What's the thing that's never getting better? The thing that keeps you up at night? The loop you can't seem to break free from? Bring it to our Akashic record reading session. This isn't just a reading. It's a sacred conversation with your soul, with your team, your masters, teachers, and loved ones and guides. A place where the deepest parts of you are seen, heard, and understood. What happens in a session? You receive the clarity you've been searching for. You get the validation for what you've been feeling but couldn't quite name. You experience an energy clearing, releasing lower vibrational and stuck emotions so you can move forward lighter, freer, and more aligned. What if the answers you've been seeking are already waiting for you? In this space, you can finally breathe, release, and receive the relief you've been craving. One session or a package are available over Zoom from anywhere in the world. It's time to lift the weight off your heart. Say yes to clarity. Say yes to relief. Message me to book your Akashic record reading today. Link in the show notes. Link in the show notes. And we're back.
Yes, thank you for that. It is so gorgeous that you are empowering humans in this way, and particularly women in this way, that we have the ability, the capability, and that anyone can invest. And thank you for being a resource for that. That is so important.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to people getting in touch with you and learning more, because we all can benefit from that information.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, Val, you help people rise rooted in their truth and purpose. What wisdom from your shamanic or ancestral practices can help us ground into our power during this season of light and expansion?
I love this. Thank you so much, Siri. And I'm so glad that I get the chance to meet you finally in person. You know, first I want to remind everybody, like, it is the longest day. So for the longest time, the weeks, you've been preparing us for this day. So every minute for the last few weeks and months, the days have been expanding. And then when we arrive at that moment, nature is reminding us we have to go back. And so there's a transition. It's not only a time just of expansion and light, but it's also the time to pause, because that's the line of the pause, to go back to the next step in transitions and continue our next evolutions. So in shamanism, we often looked at nature and bring it to our everyday lives, right? Nature teach us about ourselves, about everything we need to know about ourselves. We just have to pay attention. And unfortunately, in the world that we live with so many distractions, we tend to go and past it. We don't see it anymore. So
Yeah.
for me, what I like to remind everybody all the time is that during that period of transition, not only because your light is also as big, remember, you were sleeping, you were in that darkness for a long time, and the darkness was good too. It was preparing you for that moment of full light. So it's to pause and to think for a moment and to say to yourself, what is it that I've learned? How did I grow until that moment? And then now that I'm pausing and I'm grasping what I've learned, the growth, the evolutions, everything that required moment, what is my truth? Because right now in the world that we live, it is important to ground ourselves in our truth.
Yeah.
We get so confused right now. We get pulled everywhere about the truth. What is true? But the truth is, it is already in you, in your subconscious mind, with all the stories that have been stored from this lifetime, in your DNA, from all your ancestors has been giving you the informations that you can look for. You can actually go and look for them and search for them and receive them. In your belly, when you look about the guts, where all your emotions is being stored, we can sit down and pause and ask ourselves about those truths. So when we find those truths, we're able to grow and evolve, and life become easier. Things become softer. The light becomes brighter. So pause. It's simple as that. Pause. Take that moment for that transition. Give yourself permission to transition, because the day's gonna get shorter and shorter. We're gonna go back to the darkness. And darkness is good as well, because it's time to pause. It's time to grow roots, right? So prepare yourself for that. So pause. That's why I encourage people all the time. Take the moment during that solstice, that beautiful light, to pause.
Thank you, Val. That's really good. I love the visceral imagery of everything you shared. I was feeling it in my body. I was seeing it. I was understanding it. And you, in your breath work, had a very dramatic experience. Is there maybe one sentence of that experience you might be
Sure,
willing to
I would
share?
love. Yes, I have several gifts. Again, I don't want to start listing them all, but I have several gifts, and one of them is channeling. And the interesting part about a voice came to me, very powerful, and reminded me that the yin and the yang, which was very interesting. As much that we are in the light, remember also your yin. which is the feminine side, which is the moon side. So as I'm sitting in the full light, to remind myself as well of my darkness, my moon side. And when he said those words, he said, I was surprised because I was full in the light session today, preparing myself. That made me pause even a moment to remind myself that everything, even though when there's a lot of light or a lot of darkness, we need to take the time to balance everything. So for me, the message was remember to always keep yourself balanced.
I love that because the contrast is what makes us grow, and it's how we learn, and it's how we evolve. And I'm just pausing, like you said, I'm just pausing here. I think it's so important to honor what you're talking about with nature, that it really truly can teach us everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. It's so beautiful. I want to have a full conversation with you. Clearly, I need to interview you just one-on-one. So, but we're going to move forward because I want to make sure everyone has time. So, Katie Chen Mazzara, you support creatives in healing scarcity and building financial freedom as the light expands around us. What is one way we can feel more safe, spacious, and empowered with money this season?
Thank you for having me today. This week I've been in Huntington Beach. I was at a conference for women, mostly women of color, and it was such an extraordinary experience of being able to be in what I consider a safe space. And especially during this time, I live in Los Angeles, and a lot of people were nervous about, well, all the protests and things that have been happening here in Los Angeles. And being at this conference just reminded me that community is a place to create that sense of safety, right? And if you're able to be in places where you feel seen, you feel heard, you feel connected to each other, that's actually more powerful and gives you that sense of safety more than anything. And it is an abundance thing as well.
Yeah.
And another thing is, I shared my story on stage at the conference as well. And the reason that I am a trauma-informed financial wellness coach is because I've known 3 women in my life who stayed in abusive relationships because of the lack of money and resources to take care of themselves and their young children.
Yeah.
And so my mission is to help people to make decisions not based on money, but instead to be based on the dreams that they have for themselves and their family. And I think that that money can actually create a sense of safety for yourself, right? And for you to be able to make decisions and say, I'm not going to make decisions based on bills that I have to pay, right? Rather, I can make decisions based on a feeling of fullness and that feeling of more than enough, right? If I have more than enough, then what can I do in this world, right? And what can I create as well? And the other thing I want to bring up is I just saw a hummingbird outside my window right before I was speaking. And as we know, hummingbirds represent the love and resilience and joy, right? And so it's also about like noticing the beauty of nature and the abundance around us and the sweetness and all of the things that we can be grateful for in this very moment, right? Instead of focusing on what we don't have, right, or what we continue to want. Instead, it's like, what do we already have within us? What do we already have around us? What do we already have just in nature and in the beauty of our surroundings? And I always love to just come back to that place of gratitude, right? Like even in this week, I'm so grateful that I was chosen to speak on a stage with 500 people in the audience. And I was so grateful to be able to move my body. I was looking at my phone last night, and I was like surprised that I didn't really even try, but I was moving. I think I did like 6,000, 7,000 steps a day just from being at this conference and walking from one place to the other. And then the proximity to the beach, I had sort of a partial ocean view from my room. And I was able to see the ocean, and I got to take beautiful walks along the ocean. And so I just feel in so much gratitude, and that sense of gratitude really grows, right, and expands beyond ourselves and brings in a very different energy for attracting flow and all kinds of things into our lives.
Katie, I feel that we all can see the experience you just had from your description, and it is incredible. And we can have compersion and be there with you and feel it with you and feel that abundance and that gratitude with you and all up level with you from that experience. That is wonderful. I'm so happy that you felt so held and safe. I'm so happy that you were able to like give yourself all this activity with your body, to see the ocean, to rise and to speak to that many people. It's incredible. And all of us leaders here are so vital. Your voice, what you shared at that conference, was so vital. What you're sharing today with these women and with the audience that we all have together collectively is so vital. So important that we, yes, take the gratitude and the presence that nature gives us, the hummingbird, but also remember that, just like Anne was talking about, like, we have access. We can have access, and there are resources for us to have access to more, so that we're not choosing from a place of fear, that we're choosing from a place of being resourced for ourselves. And this is our time to reclaim this. So thank you for that. And I can't wait to talk to you more. So Rachel Blumberg, you have built a vibrant wellness movement through PlateFit in Brentwood specifically. I can't wait to go there. That's so exciting to me. In August, I'm going to be there for a first degree Reiki certification class, as well as a breathwork. What have you learned, Rachel, about embodiment, leadership, and vibrational energy that helps women fully own their radiance and vitality?
That's a lot to stick into 3 minutes, but thank you for having me back. I'm so happy to be here. Nice to meet everyone. It's interesting. I've been working with vibration for 19 years, and it's actually a vibrational plate that we work on at PlateFit. And Katie, thank you so much for what you just said. I have many hummingbirds that live outside on a daily basis, and I get to see those hummingbirds in my life. And I feel, my journey with PlateFit has been such an interesting journey. And, I had 5 studios. I ended up closing 3 studios as a result of COVID. I had 2 left, and I just made the decision to close 1 more and just to have 1. And it's really just a reflection of just coming back home to myself, coming back to what truly matters to me. Katie, abundance isn't, like you said, it isn't always like the things that we collect. It's how we feel on the inside. And finding my joy through vibration has been, I call myself a vibration expert, because I understand really deeply how to move energy, and I help others understand how to move energy and call in abundance in their life and joy, and really come back home to who they are. That's been my journey over the last 19 years, is really just coming back to myself. And doing that with vibration and frequency has been a beautiful journey. And also just with building a beautiful community, having been in this business and owning physical spaces and helping people physically with their body, emotionally and spiritually. I've built an incredible community of women here in Los Angeles that truly love vibration and love and also want to change who they are on the inside. So that's a little about me. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it
Excited
is.
for- I'm just excited for our workshop. I think it's going to be amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is unifying. I've heard so many leaders talk about taking their offers, their 5 different offers, and making it into one offer, and all of a sudden that becomes the thing that catapults everything. And I think just hearing you talk about, unifying your business to one space of community and coming home to yourself, I think that's so beautiful. And it's this concept to me of like less is more, and that you're in your full alignment with your business by really consolidating everything into one place. But also, I know how dedicated you are to your family and to your clients and to your community. So it's nice I just get this feeling of unification
I
from
think
what,
it's full alignment in all
yeah.
areas of my life. I think it feels like I have full alignment with family, with my husband, with business, with all the things. And it's been, a long road to get here, and a lot of struggle and a lot of ups and downs and a lot of no's and a lot of I don't knows and a lot of living in the unknown. And in all of that is deep, deep, deep gratitude for all of it and the way that it is right now. And so, it's been an interesting journey. And like you said, closing that last studio, it's really created more abundance.
Mm,
Like the studio, the one studio, and it all goes back. I mean, there's so much I can say here, but it all goes back to what I truly wanted when I opened my first studio. I
right.
just wanted one.
Yes.
Got caught up in like, I got to build more. I got to create more. I got to be big. I got to have 75 locations. And
Yep.
getting lost in the expansion, and like we have to be, huge and own multiples in order to be successful, and redefining success, truly
Mm,
defining success for myself and what that means, and understanding that when I wake up in the morning, how successful I am as a human being. And then
yes.
that reaches everyone in my community. And so
Yes.
the Plate Fit community and the vibration community is not just a workout, and it's never been just a workout.
Yeah.
It really is about helping people find their joy, helping people find their gratitude, helping people come home to themselves and really, really discover what matters. I think it's
Vibration.
that Claudia is going next because she talks about inner abundance. And I love that's in your title, Claudia, because it's like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's just like living in this state of real inner abundance, and
Yeah.
how beautiful that is to just open your eyes and feel whole. Anyways, thank you.
There's a real coherence here with what everyone is sharing. With the way these groups come together, there's no accident. I think we're soul sisters here, and we're all sharing different aspects of the same prism of a diamond in one sense. So thank you, Rachel. Claudia Noriega Bernstein, I recently had the pleasure of being on your podcast. Thank you for that. You empower women to reclaim their story and inner abundance. As we cross the solstice threshold, what is one powerful shift that we can make to move from surviving to thriving?
Now, here I am listening to you, and I'm like, okay, I'm in mute. Thank you, Siri, for having me here. And I love to see so many familiar faces. Some of you have been in my podcast. I love that. And I also love that I am following, Anne and Val and Katie and Rachel, because you all talk about abundance, and we have an idea of abundance that the world wants us to believe, and that's not what abundance is. I know so many women, because I work with women, especially moms, but I know so many women that have everything, the purses, the house, the cars, and everything, and they're empty. They're not happy, and they don't know why. Why I'm not happy? What else do I need? Maybe I need to go on another girl's trip. And I'm like, dude, what you need is inside of you. You don't have to go to the store and get it. And when people say to me, what do you work? What is your work? I don't see it as a work. That's my passion. My passion is to help women remember who they truly are. And that's what I love to work with moms, because when you're a mom, you wear so many hats that you forget that person inside of you. And I want to say something. You have little elephants in your dress or in your t-shirt. And when I get a new client, I give them a little, excuse me, a little elephant, wood elephant, because the elephants, the gorillas and the dolphins are the only animals that recognize themselves in the mirror.
Oh,
It's it was such an aha moment for me when I learned that, because we look at ourselves in the mirror, but do we really look at ourselves in the mirror? So my passion, what I like to do is help women remember who they truly are, so they can look at themselves in the mirror and say, hey, I know you. I love you. You're powerful. You're worthy. You're deserving of that life of abundance that makes sense. That's what I like to do. And now that we cross in this solstice threshold, which is, a symbolic turning point, it's a wonderful and powerful moment to remember that shift, from going from self-abandonment to self-honoring. We are hungry. And sometimes when we're hungry, we will eat anything, right? We eat the scraps.
yeah.
But we deserve the meal. We don't want the leftovers. We want the meal. So, yeah, you're hungry, but be picky. Don't settle for the scraps, for the leftovers. Go look for what is really going to nurture you instead of surviving, surviving for love and recognition and energy or whatever it is that you are trying to grab, to stay whole. Choose nourishment, choose yourself, choose loving boundaries, choose rooted beliefs that are going to take you where you belong, not where you want to fit in. And we talk about this all the time, you and I, Siri. We are so in need to be loved and accepted that we shrink to fit. And that means that you are leaving part of yourself behind.
Yep.
To belong, you want to be part of it just how you are, in spite of who you are. You're supposed to be you, your whole you, to be able to belong. So I love that we're talking about that, and what Rachel was saying is absolutely true. That's what we're looking for. And I think that we don't realize that until we start this healing journey, where we really have to acknowledge all our, I don't want to say broken, but cracked part of us, that need healing. And when we are in that journey, we discover that wonderful person that is inside of us, and we unbecome to become who we are meant to be.
That's beautiful. Yeah, there is an unraveling, and it's interesting because it's sort of similar to what Val was saying about that we go back after the summer solstice. Like we're in the darkness and then we expand, we go back, and there's a spiral, right? It's we get to revisit our lessons from the new vantage point of who we've expanded into. And we get to revisit again, just like the sun. We get to revisit and revisit and revisit for each time from a new vantage point. Oh, now I have this perspective. Thank you. Claudia, last panel that you were on, when my husband listened back to the panel, he was like, I said, so what was your favorite? And he said what Claudia shared. So I'm curious to see, I'll ask him again, what was your favorite share? See if he says Claudia again.
I wanted, before you pass the next one, I know we have very little time, but I want to remind every woman that is listening something that I just had a speaking presentation, and I was talking to a group of very young women. Kind of brought me back at the beginning, 15, 16 years ago when I was coaching teenagers. You gotta have a different mindset to talk to these kids, because number one, they think they know it all. So you're not telling them anything new. But one thing that I explained to them was the styrofoam mentality. And we as women, because we want to fit in and we want to feel that we belong, right? We have this styrofoam mentality. And when you think about a styrofoam cup, right, it's disposable. I mean, it's useful, but it's disposable. So when we start seeing ourselves as a china, as something delicate and like a crystal, right? We start valuing ourselves differently. And when you do that, you stop giving discounts. So I just want to remind every woman that is listening that this is a time to make that shift and start seeing yourself as a china with an abundant mindset, with all this resilience and growth and everything that comes with healing, and not see yourself anymore as disposable.
That's so good, Claudia. I have recently up-leveled myself in a situation where I saw I need to create boundaries, I need to create tiers so that I'm comfortable with any of these tiers, but these are your choices.
Yeah.
And it felt amazing.
Yeah.
Really, really great. Thank you so much, Claudia. Akari Busto, you bridge science and soul through emotional alchemy. As we enter the longest day of the year, what does it mean to rise in sovereignty? And how can we anchor that in our breath and in our body?
Well, after listening to these inspirational women, I mean, everything just, just shifts. And I love hearing the word trauma informed coming in so many different directions because it is about time to be trauma informed. And I love Claudia's presentation around, the abundance, the inner abundance that we need. And so I work with the nervous system, and just like Katie, I'm also in Los Angeles. I'm in Long Beach, and having myself be a multi-racial person and identifying as Mexican, it is very heartbreaking to hear what is going on around us, to witness people being snatched, and it's just heartbreaking. And so for me, the way to stay sovereign is to learn how to respond versus react. And as I am witnessing, as I am listening, as I am holding space for friends, for family, that's really the big piece is how can I become that beacon of light, that anchor where they can come and co-regulate with me so that I can be that person who holds on to a lot of the stuff that's going on without taking it on, right? Because it's my sovereign right to listen and not to have to carry it for everyone. And I think the big message right now is to remind you that the most radical thing that you can do is self-care, is not forget about who you are in this moment so that we can be the disruptors of the system, because it is time for us to show up and disrupt the system by being trauma informed, right? By not bypassing the feelings, the anxiety, the overwhelm, naming it. And I call it the hot potato, right? Everyone's passing the hot potato and you watch it in all these videos. What would it be like if you can hang on to that hot potato and instead of passing it on, that you let it go? That you let it go and stop passing that hot potato. And that's really how we claim our sovereignty, by not passing it on. And by not passing it on, I'm thinking, wow, hopefully this goes into the epigenetics. And now we are not our DNA. We can choose how we show up, not just for ourselves, not just for our families, but for the collective, because this is collective trauma that is happening right now. And it is important for all of us to remain in our center. And with this breath work, that's exactly what it reminded me of. It reminded me of connecting to the hardships of women and honor where we're at and honor the fact that our ancestors survived horrible things, but through that, it wasn't in vain. She who knows it all, which is our heart, continues to teach us these lessons of fortitude and of sovereignty. And it is this day and age where we are allowed, to a certain degree, to use our voice and we need to use it so that we can pass the baton to the generations of other women that are coming, so that we can serve as the role models that we did not have in our home or in, the media that we were consuming. So it is time for us to evolve and show up and be that role model.
Gosh, Akari, preach. I'm just taking it in. It's so powerful what you're sharing. It's so true. It vibrates through all of our bodies and those who are listening, because we know truth when we hear truth. And you just used your voice so powerfully. And that has an incredible ripple effect. So thank you for that. Thank you for what you do. And yeah, I think I noticed that too. It's like we're seeing the words trauma informed in all the various categories. And it is so vital. It is so important. And there's a theme here of ancestry that we're all talking about. And I think that's really fascinating, that we're on the summer solstice and we're talking about ancestry, and the collective trauma. And I hear you saying, like, you are here to anchor yourself through self-care so that you can be this lighthouse, so you can be this safe space you can be this leader for others who we're all having our own individual and collective struggles. And so running around trying to put out the fire is one thing, but like, what does it mean to put your oxygen mask on first? For each of us, it's different for each of us. It might be breath work for you and me. It might be the heart math stuff for someone else that you also do, right? So thank you for that. It's incredible. And obviously we could talk so much more, but I want to introduce Dr. Stephanie Minter. You help people remember the body as part of the greater ecosystem. How can the rhythms of nature, especially during the solstice, help us reconnect to our creative vitality?
It's such a powerful group of women, and I'm going to have a spirit stick or a talking stick moment where maybe I had something planned before coming to this space, but really, once I'm here and once I'm in the energy of all of these beautiful and powerful women, the message that needs to come out, absolutely will. I'm here on the Gulf Coast of Florida, so way over here on the East Coast. I know you guys in California and elsewhere are experiencing a different kind of storm. Our storm season is coming, and so I'm very much reminded about this influence of nature and what's happening. I'm always drawn back to my favorite inspiring quote, which is, "The cure for anything is salt water. Sweat, tears are the sea." I have some fellow somatic practitioners in here, so it really is about sweat, the moving of the body, and for me it means fascia, myofascial release, getting into the areas that really store the emotions, that really store the trauma, where that biochemical snapshot happened and how it's trapped inside the body. So really trying to work people into understanding that tissue, its functionality, and how it really influences our wellness. Tears, all the mindfulness, all of the working through the heaviness of not only what's happened in our past, but what's occurring in our present. And then the sea, for me, that's about grounding. It's about being in nature. And I'm really being called to say, nature doesn't just inspire creativity. Nature is creativity. If you think about, we're talking about this spiral where we get to come back around to the events that we've had before with greater knowledge, greater wisdom, much more informed. We have better tools. This shell shape, this spiral. I'm always inspired by sea things. So just really making people call into mind those things. Not only that, but scientifically, I've been reading all this new neurobiology and science based on how healing the sea and water can be. Just being near the water, just looking at pictures of water, listening to sounds of water. Our brains really are based on survival, wired to regulate around water. So if anybody is needing a way to drop in, if anyone is really looking for that sort of healing moment, then seek out water, however or wherever and what form that is for you. And that, nature reminds us that progress isn't linear. It's about seasons. It's about ebb and flow, right? There's a bounty, then there's a time to hibernate. There's a time to heal. Really involving yourself in that cyclic experience. And in summertime, the solstice, what we're doing with these long days, this bright sun, it's about embracing your wild, messy, cyclical aliveness that you have the ability to tap into, and letting go of perfectionism and the expectations for productivity. I mean, this is the season of play. And that's really what I would invite everyone to do, is find where your light is, find where your joy is, sit down with your inner self, your younger self, your childlike self, and figure out where play can be your medicine.
Yes, thank you for inviting play into this conversation. That was a missing piece that is definitely essential. And yeah, the deciduous trees, the leaves have to fall before they can blossom again. And we are water. What's the percentage of water that we are, Stephanie?
On average, about 70%. Just depends on the organ or the tissue that you're.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we 70% water, that's what we are. So of course, that makes so much sense.
And embracing that flow state, right? How do you get into your flow state? Are you a tree person? Are you a mountain person? Are you a water person like me?
Yeah.
It's where do you go to tap into your place of receiving this abundant energy? We're all energy. We're all just electrons vibrating. And, for those of us who have been able to channel and have been able to receive, I would imagine most of us do that outdoors or in connection with some natural entity. So, I mean.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get yourselves reconnected. You are a biological being. You're a mammal. You're part of this ecosystem. And honestly, the best therapy is really connecting back into your connection to that cycle, that connection to this growth, birth, death cycle. I mean, we all have to go through that, and some of it's letting go of what needs to be let go of, so that you have space to call in the abundance that you need to be able to call forward the strength that we're going to need to endure this season.
I was at a park a couple days ago grieving my 14-year-old dog that we had to put down, and I sat against a big tree and I felt so supported. This is what support feels like. And I put my hands on another tree and I listened, and oh, this is what wisdom feels like. And I said to my husband, this tree has been here since before I was born. It will be here most likely after I have passed. How incredible the wisdom of this tree, and how mortal I am and we are. And that is what brings meaning and fulfillment and specialness to life, is the fact that we don't live very long. So I think there's just so much beautiful wisdom in nature, as you say. So Karen must not have been able to get in to the Zoom, and I couldn't help her. So we're going to move on to Nicole Lee. You guide women through life transitions with clarity and courage. What somatic insight can help us move through change with grace? We're talking about change here, with grace, as we step into the brightness of this season.
Yeah, so I'm also grateful to be in the presence of all of this magnificence and brilliance, and I'm just taking in all of the wisdom that's already been shared. And I mean, we're talking about a season, which is a transition, right? And so what I'm reminded of is that we're naturally going through transitions just like this season. So we are always going through seasons within our lives, whether we call it a transition or not. And the one thing I would say is honoring, regardless of what may be externally the season, is what season are you in? And so sometimes what happens is we want to stay course of what we think the season is that everyone else is in. And perhaps you may be going into a winter season, even though we are in summer. Right.
Interesting.
And so when we think about now what our summer is a winter somewhere else.
Yes.
Right. And so that's one thing that just intuitively came to me is, and the sovereignty that we were talking about is taking that time to go within and sit and ask some of those curious questions about what season you feel you are in. And what do you sense and feel that you need within yourself? And allowing yourself through that internal wisdom of guidance of where are you feeling it in your body, what is coming up for you, and recognizing what I typically go through and offer to my clients is what is feeling aligned and what is not. Right. And so then from that point, asking even more curious questions of what about this feels aligned and what would I desire to do differently or not do differently? What do I feel that I need in this season that may be different than what I needed in my previous season, right? What am I now wanting to let go in this season that maybe I held on to in a previous season that was serving me that is not? Am I in a season now that I'm recognizing what I've been surviving in and what elements do I potentially want to now start thriving into? So a lot of what I go through from that somatic space, right? And many times offering to close the eyes because we also know just based in the society in which we live in, having our eyes open, even though this is beautiful, there are elements of distraction, right? I'm looking at your beautiful hat and your beautiful colors and your plants and all the things. We can be overstimulated, right? So allowing us to even close our eyes can take about 80% of that distraction away to allow us to come back to home. And I love that you mentioned even the heart space of maybe even breathing in and out through the heart, because that may seem like something that allows you to anchor and focus. But that's what I would just offer from that particular point. One, really aligning to what season you're in, perhaps what intention you want within that season that you're recognizing, and then what are the things that you desire that you may be shifting or needing or desiring and anchoring into.
That is so profound and beautiful. Thank you for touching on the fact that it's not summer solstice everywhere. And I almost touched on it, but I didn't. So thank you for bringing that up. That is so important. And regardless of what the season is in the climate that you're in, honoring with sovereignty, like, oh, where am I at right now? And what is serving me now versus it wasn't serving me last season, and those cycles. And we're monthly cyclical people as opposed to daily cyclical people as women. And there's so many different variations day to day, but also within our seasons, within our year, that are worth honoring. And I love how you said to close your eyes and breathe into your heart and take away the distraction, because obviously you can see I'm doing that the whole time we're here. It's just so helpful to really tap into your truth when our eyes are closed, and we come back to that oneness that Anne was talking about. When we close our eyes, because we're not seeing separate boxes on Zoom, we're seeing the truth when we close our eyes. And I love that you talked about vibration, which is, Rachel's mastery. Like, this is so beautiful. Oh, thank you, Nicole. And Nicole is going to be on our next panel too, so stay tuned for that. Tracy Hill, you help women quiet. Speaking of going within, closing our eyes, what a perfect ramp for you. You help women quiet the noise and tune into their inner wisdom. As we step into the solstice full of light and aliveness and expansion, what's one way? And I was just thinking this, oh my gosh, human design, because our environments, where do we feel most aligned, or storytelling can help us feel more of that beautiful fix that you speak of.
Thank you, Siri, and thank you to everyone for this discussion. Everyone has touched on so much of what I was going to say, which I was just sitting here thinking, it's kind of really cool because we're all coming from different spaces, but are saying very similar things. So when you asked me to be on the panel, and I was thinking about, the summer solstice and radiance, and what it meant to be radiant, I thought, let me look at this through the lens of human design. And just to level set a little bit, human design is simply your energetic blueprint. It is a system that is designed to help you remember who you are and to strip away all the conditioning that we have. And so, from that point of view, I was thinking there's nothing more beautiful or alluring than seeing a woman walk in her truth. We've all seen that person who she knows who she is, she knows herself, she knows her truth, and it's unapologetic. So that is kind of what I was just thinking of, during this beautiful season, is inviting people to just be truly authentic to themselves. Siri, you mentioned this earlier during the breath work, that authenticity is the highest vibration. Before, we thought of it as being love and gratitude, and now they're saying it's authenticity. So what a powerful way to step into the season and just kind of go inward, because as you guys have mentioned, the answers are within. Are you being true to yourself? Your thoughts, your beliefs, are they even yours? Or is it potentially conditioning? And just step into that authenticity. When the reason why my company is called A Beautiful Fix is because it's literally inviting people to get high on life, to have a beautiful, fix, not something that's detrimental. And that can be from so much of what you guys have already talked about. We're in this beautiful season where everything is in bloom. Can you stop and just take it all in? Can you be present to notice the beauty that is all around? We've touched on some very serious topics. There's a lot of hurt going on in the world right now. We all feel it, we all see it. But I'm here to just kind of continue to shine the spotlight on how beautiful this world and this life can be. And Katie, you mentioned the hummingbird outside your window. Shortly after you said that, a bird appeared on my windowsill. But can we be present enough to stop and notice that? Because when you do that, you can shift your state instantly, which is why I started searching for these beautiful fixes, because I could just immediately go to a different place. So that's what I would just invite people to think about this season. Look for those beautiful things and be true to yourself. Just step into your authenticity.
Yeah, I saw a couple birds fly across my window too, and I'm just getting this image of what you said of zooming out and seeing the beautiful world from up here, from this perspective, what we call in the Akashic, the eyes of the Lords of the Records, just getting that bigger perspective of looking down at the whole and at the oneness. And then also when we zoom in, like Stephanie's talking about, looking at a seashell, the microcosm, the macrocosm, it's a mirror, right? Like either one in human design, whether we get up on the mountain and we look down, Akari's also does human design, like we look down and we can see the perspective, or we're at the shoreline, we see the ocean where the ocean meets the land, right? Or we're in our cave, like my environment is caves, and we get to feel safe in our cave, feel safe in that community that Katie was in. Like, I think that we're all talking about, like, how can we either zoom out and see the big perspective, or how can we like zoom in and be like super present and hyper present to like what is like this bird right in front of me right here, this tree right in front of me right here. How can I appreciate this season right now? Because it's all transient, it's all going to change. There's literally nothing that's going to stay the same. And so the beautiful cat that is right there in front of Stephanie that she's petting, like, oh, that's going to change in 2 seconds. She's going to walk away. But like that was a moment and we loved it and we appreciated it. And so that's the beautiful fix, is her noticing, us noticing the bird, us noticing the cat. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Tracy.
And Sarah, I want to say one last thing. Also, you mentioned the macro and the micro, but also what's inside. I don't know if we always take the time to really focus on what's inside of us and falling in love with her and,
Mm.
your true self. So it's all around.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and what's inside is, as we know, when we lift that vibration, then what we see all around us matches it. So, Kat Caldwell Myers, you are an equine assisted adventure coach who supports women and children in following their dreams with horses outside Jackson Hole, Wyoming. You're also a best-selling author and podcast host of The Adventure Paradox, which I got to be on a couple times. So, what can horses? We're talking about animals today. What can horses teach us about embracing the fullness of our creative light?
Oh my gosh, Siri, I'm so glad you asked. And also, what an amazing group of women here. Like, wow. Hats off, girls. I mean, the change makers, the vibration, like just everything I'm feeling after hearing all of you. I'm just really receiving that. So I want to reflect that back to you guys. Horses. My truth from a very small age was that horses were basically everything. I began with little toys and eventually moved to real animals and working with them and then helping others access them. And so, Solstice, when I look outside at our horses and I connect with our horses, it is the bloom. We've got the flowers, we've got everything, but we also have our horses going, grass, green grass. Oh my gosh, a lot of it. And it's going to go away. So they're often in this space of seeking. And it's amazing. We have been working with horses for 5,000 years. So, talking about the ancestry, and if you feel called, it's probably something deep in you that is being asked to reconnect with your horse ancestors. And so I think it's really interesting to connect with horses in every season. I've watched 90-year-old people step into working with horses. I've watched children who have no fear. They just come right up. And I have watched women do amazing things to figure out how to have a horse in their lives. And it's the season, every season. Like if you get really close to the animals, you realize that there are certain principles. So, for example, the principle of self-care that we're all talking about, right? We need a certain amount of sleep, even when the days are really, really long. And you might be in a different season than the one happening outside your window in whatever hemisphere you're in. But there are certain principles of self-care. And the horses teach us a lot about that because they're prey animals. They only sleep 2 hours a day. Why? They need to be alert. They might be killed by anything at any time in any season. But then there are other things like that warmth. We see them in summer take more naps laying down. Very unusual for a prey animal to feel that safe. So there's just this deep, deep connection, I believe, for us at the heart level when we connect with horses and let them open us up to whatever our dream really is. Because so often we say it's one thing. This is why I love podcasting and interviewing people and really listening to them. But then our walk, our actions are different, right? So, like, really accessing that deep truth. Horses, they see you right away. You might say it's this, I want to get on, but you're shaking in your boots. Let's start with the shaking in your boots. Like, let's come right back right here and co-regulate together as we have for 5,000 years.
And
I could keep talking.
also, Kat, horses, the electromagnetic field of their heart is what, like miles? It's huge.
So what's amazing is again what happens when horses have moved out of our cities, out of our homes, out of our hearts, and we're not connecting with them at a deep level. And then what's available when you return to them? It's why we have this huge movement, Horses for Mental Health. People are feeling called to bring them back, to figure out how to connect with that electromagnetic field and co-regulate, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of healing available to us there.
Yes. Ugh. My grandfather just spent all his time at the horse stable. And that was how my dad really was able to connect with his dad.
Mm.
And
So
I remember
good.
riding when I was younger, and it was a special feeling. And I'd like
Yeah,
to come back to it. again
I
at
mean,
some
if
point.
if you just like show someone a horse, it awakens something, and not for everybody. It's for some of us, like I remember being at a party and this gal I didn't know very well, and suddenly we found out we both have horses, and the vibration changed. We're like, tell me about yours. And her husband came up, he's like, you're a horse girl too. She only gets that way with other horse girls. And there's this energy that's available to us. And this picture back here is my grandmother here. I'll show you a little bit closer. But she's jumping a horse with
Oh,
no helmet.
wow.
Back in the day, this is probably 1940 something,
Wow.
right? And I remember asking her, she had this really incredible life, so much abundance, so many incredible synchronicities and connections. And I remember asking her, like, Grandma, how did you know to do these things? And she said, dear, I think it was the horses. And I
Mm,
really think there's something about when we start checking in with another creature, we're really checking in with ourselves in
yeah.
any season. So, like, to invite that creativity, to really shed light on whatever it is you're called to, and especially if it's through the portal of an animal. And Siri, I want to address your dear
Thank
Charlie,
you.
who I've been with you this week as he's transitioned, and like the incredible love that is infinite and forever once they pass over, but also like those early moments of transition of, they're not physically here anymore. So
Thank you.
just want to acknowledge that and that beautiful connection you two have.
Thank you. Charlie is predominantly a boy name, but Charlie is actually a girl. And thank you for that, Kat. We named her because the Charlie Bit My Finger YouTube video that at the time that we had adopted her was so popular, and we said we have to name our dog Charlie. So she's very much here.
Very much.
She's very much here.
Thank you.
So thank you. What a wonderful group. What a wonderful panel. I want to read us a poem. Let this be the season you remember. Your breath is a gateway. Your body is a guide. Wealth can be rooted in the soul. Money can be safe, generous, and alive. Grief and truth can coexist and still create beauty. You are allowed to be loud, soft, sovereign, and still. You can rise with nature, speak from the gut, and lead with laughter, fire, and story. You carry the wisdom of ancestors and wild horses, of the earth beneath you and the rhythms within. This light is not outside you. It's the shape of your own remembering. So to each of our panelists here, these goddesses, thank you for sharing your insight, your presence, your powerful truth. To our listeners, thank you for joining us in this sacred circle. I invite you to let what moved you today ripple outward into your life today and onward. Let it shape your choices. Let it soften your heart. Let it stoke your courage. And if you are feeling called to go deeper into this work together, like I did with these women before we were sharing, I invite you to explore private breathwork sessions, personalized journeys infused with Reiki with me, group breathwork ceremonies, sacred tailored experiences for your community. I have a 1st and 2nd degree Reiki certification retreat at my home this July. You can receive your attunements and deepen your practice in nourishing yourself with the food and just giving yourself the tool to be able to communicate with love through your hands and through long distance energy healing. I also do custom retreats. So I create retreats for sisters to circle that are ready to experience healing and joy and transformation together. So wherever your journey takes you next, I invite you to keep expanding your capacity to feel good, one breath at a time. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, ladies. And we will see you next time.
Hey, love, have you been feeling the call to deepen your healing journey? Not just for others, but also really for yourself. This July, I am opening the doors of my home for a very special 1st and 2nd degree Reiki certification retreat. an intimate, heart-led experience designed to awaken your inner healer and attune you to the ancient energy of unconditional life force. We'll gather in the golden light of summer, surrounded by nature, nourishment, and the most beautiful energy you can imagine. Over 3 days, you'll receive your Reiki 1 and 2 attunements, learn hands-on techniques, practice with partners, explore energetic boundaries, and feel deeply supported by community. This is not just a certification, it's about remembering who you are and accessing a well of healing that will ripple through every corner of your life. You'll leave this retreat with tools to clear energy, hold space, and care for yourself and others in a whole new way, plus 2 integration calls, 8 lovingly prepared meals, a welcome gift bag, and the full support of a traditional Reiki lineage passed down with integrity and love. The retreat is happening July 21st to the 23rd in Camas, Washington, and space is very limited. So if your body says yes, or your heart just started fluttering a little, trust that. You can visit sageandblushwellness.com to contact me or email me directly, siri@sageandblushwellness.com to claim your spot. Let's begin this next chapter together with hands open, hearts steady, and energy flowing. Another opportunity for you is in Brentwood, California this August. Hosted by the amazing Rachel Blomberg at her beautiful PlateFit studio, I'd love to have you at our first degree Reiki certification on August 8th and 9th. 2 days of intuitive activation, nervous system support, and deep energetic grounding. On August 10th, I'll guide a transformational breathwork session to help you move stuck energy and reconnect with your truth. We'll also return to the same space in early October for second degree Reiki. If your heart's saying yes, email me, siri@sageandblushwellness.com to save your spot. I can't wait to be with you in that healing space. There is a place for you here. Until next time, keep breathing, keep listening, keep feeling. Your healing is a gift, it is a superpower, and you are already enough. Loving you.